Hello, I'm Melinda Gates. Our foundation has been working on public education for more than a decade, and one thing we have learned is the importance of great teaching. The students we talk to say the best teachers inspire them to work harder and learn more. The evidence shows that excellent teaching is common to all schools where students are beating the odds. That's why we're committed to learning from the teachers who are doing this work every single day, and why we are so proud to support events like this one.
I'm Hari Srinivasan from the PBS NewsHour. 74%. That's the percentage of California high school students who graduate. The rest do not. What are we doing to increase the percentage of students who graduate from high school? What's the cost to our society if we do nothing? We're here tonight to address many issues, to talk about the reasons why so many high school students are dropping out, to discuss the impact on our country of losing all of these high school graduates, and to examine the benefits of helping more of our young people find their way to a diploma and graduation. Los Angeles is one of many cities across the United States participating in a multi-year national initiative to keep our youth in school and on the right academic track. Welcome to American Graduate Let's Make It Happen Teacher Town Hall, a significant outreach effort funded by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting that's being undertaken by your local public television stations for the Los Angeles marketplace, PBS SoCal, KLCS, and KVCR. We're bringing together the people, the organizations, and the resources to improve graduation rates in our communities all across Southern California. And who better to lead the conversation than the people on our front line, our teachers? Tonight, we'll be talking with Los Angeles area educators, teachers who will share their perspectives on what we as a community can do to help our students and creative ideas they are implementing to help make a difference in their classrooms. Change doesn't happen overnight, but this evening it begins. Join us tonight for an American Graduate Teacher Town Hall meeting. Let's make it happen.
American Graduate Teacher Town Halls are funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and are part of American Graduate Let's Make It Happen, a public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.
Do you have a student in your classroom who is at risk of dropping out? Yes was 87%, and no said 13%. I'm frankly stunned by that, but you all answered the question. How are you not surprised? How is this possible? Anyone? Yes, ma'am, right here.
I just recently was awarded the Mickelson Mobile Exxon Award in Science and Math and went to New Jersey for outstanding professional development. I have yet to do one lesson in my classroom. All I find myself doing is a mandated curriculum that forces me to teach to a test, to get them ready for CST testing, which happens next week. I just finished doing a mandated district test that was 41 pages for language arts and 10 pages for math before I do a major test for CST. My kids are burned out in third grade.
Okay. I see some nodding heads. Ma'am in the back.
Hi, my name is Carmen Inshishian, and I work in LA County School District. To piggyback on she was saying, yes, I'm also an elementary school teacher. And I can tell you that if students are not reading by the third grade, statistics have proven that they will drop out by high school, but we should not wait until then. There's not one quick fix solution. I think in this country, I wasn't born in this country, but education needs to be the forefront. And it takes, I believe now, because of technology and all of the new impacts, things that are coming into the classroom, we need corporations, we need the government to step in and support our educational system, not only by validating the teacher, but by also putting their money where their mouth is. Create the funding that is needed. Make it mandatory for parents of new children to attend parenting classes, to educate them also, not only to put the burden on the teacher to train, educate, inspire the children, but yes, to put the value back into education as being the #1 priority in this country.
Ma'am, right here in the front.
Thank you for the opportunity. My name is Joan Becker, and I teach in Burbank Unified School District. And I came to teaching only 7 or 8 years ago, so I was much older when I started. And I look at younger teachers and think, I don't know how they could do it. I teach elementary 4th grade. It's an amazing grade to teach. But I agree completely with what they're saying. I look at kids and I put yes to that. I teach 4th grade, and I wrote, yes, there are kids that are in danger of dropping out. The foundation that they're getting is so much larger than when I was a child. I realize that was a long time ago. But I'm teaching kids pre-algebra stuff. Many of them are not ready for that. They haven't internalized their numbers yet. So we keep pushing it down further and further, and then what we do is there are a few kids who are ready, and they're awesome. And I want to push them forward, but I'm too busy trying to drag these other ones up, and they're not ready, and they feel bad about themselves. And we're creating this big gap, and then we're surprised when they get to high school and they don't know it. That, to me, it's the foundation is we're all kind of cracking, and that's the problem.
So what are the leading indicators? I mean, how do you know? A lot of you in elementary schools, you've said that if they're not reading well in 2nd grade and 3rd grade, there's research. But what other kinds of indicators do you get that a child that you have right now is not going to make it? Ma'am, right there in the center.
My name is Lisa Alva-Wood. I teach English at Roosevelt High School, 11th grade. And what the elementary teachers were saying about reading level is definitely true. My 11th graders are reading on average at 4th grade level. And there's no way that I can sustain an 11th grade curriculum when my children are reading at 4th grade level. And then their value and mine is being based on the California Standards Test, which I have a hard time reading through and picking the right answer or the best answer. And so reading is a tremendous indicator, numeracy. And even if I just look at the child's handwriting, I can tell where what problems I'm going to have. Language, of course, is a huge issue. I want my children to have a big vocabulary, certainly much bigger than the one that they have. And I don't know if placing a child in a grade level based on how old they are is a proper structure for a school system for children to be successful in.
Sir, right here.
Hi, my name is Christian Aguilar. I've had one of the unusual experience. I actually grew up in this neighborhood. So I've had the experience of being a TA in an elementary school. Presently, I teach at a middle school, which also has a high school. In a weird turn of events, I've actually seen some of my elementary school students in the middle school and in high school, and I've seen that some have succeeded and some have not. And the common thread that I saw in the ones that have not succeeded was home, a broken home, and the lack of support at home, and how I or other teachers have been their mentors, their parents, trying to help them be successful. But in the end, when I selected that, I noticed that there were going to be a huge dropout rate because they don't get the support at home. And sure enough, when they have the opportunity to read, it's not in a quiet environment, or to study in a quiet environment. And it's difficult for us as a teacher to try and bring their scores up or bring them up to grade level when we don't have the support.
Okay, let's go back up there. Ma'am, that's right. Go ahead, stand up.
Hi, good evening. My name is Maribel, and I'm a preschool teacher in Long Beach. And I recently got nominated for Teacher of the Year for LA County District 4.
Congratulations.
And thank you. And I also believe that a leading factor for children not to graduate from high school is because they did not attend preschool. Preschool sets the foundation for them to get those skills and build on them. And if children are not getting the necessary skills that they need to progress in kindergarten, which is elementary, middle school, high school, even to become future successful adults. We need to educate our children in preschool and let them know that education is not a right, it's a privilege.
Okay, thank you. Ma'am, right there.
Hi, I'm Carolyn Middleton. I teach at Dorsey High School, LA Unified School District. I have a problem when people say they can tell at 3rd grade when somebody's going to drop out For me, that's a problem because you've already set up a death sentence. You might see some indicators that say, okay, this child's going to do this or do that, but if you already say at third grade that they are going to drop out, that's what we're going to get. But we also have to remember that there's a big difference between kids dropping out on education and dropping out of school. And kids are dropping out of school. They're not dropping out on education.
Okay.
They're dropping out of school.
Okay. So remember, this is going out to a large group of non-teachers. So if you've got inside teacher jokes, let us in on it. That's all I'm saying. All right? So if you want to throw around the jargon, I'm going to start asking you, what does those 3 letters stand for? Just a little bit of housekeeping. Yes, right here, sir.
James Encinas. I'm a 4th grade teacher at Westminster Avenue Elementary in Venice. Been teaching for 15 years. And I hear a lot about testing and accountability. My thing is accountability.
Okay.
I think the public out there who doesn't know about teaching is, and I respect every single person in here who steps into a classroom and gives that kid that opportunity to be somebody and to have a voice. So I think it's about accountability for teachers, it's about accountability for students, and it's about accountability for parents. And yet we need to start having this conversation where people start respecting and valuing what we do, because we're in a crisis. You know, we're talking in terms of the achievement gap. We got 1 out of every 100 kids going into prison. We got 1 out of every 4 kids dropping out of school. So we need a revolution.
Let's talk a little bit about the socioeconomics that are relevant here in Southern California. I think 65%, if I'm not mistaken, of LA County and San Bernardino County students are on either free or reduced lunch programs. That, to the rest of the country, might be an absolute shocker. How much does that factor into some of these other issues that you've been talking about, that the home is not broken, it's not solid? Ma'am, right here.
Hi, I'm Marlon Phillips, and I teach inner city Santa Ana with 97% free lunch. And what we have discovered at our site, which is Sierra Prep, that connection and relationship will keep a child in school. A connection with a teacher who cares, who says good morning every morning, who says good afternoon, and this is your safe place, this is where we can help you, and let us help, let us encourage you. Our job is to educate kids and make them better people.
Great, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jody Moran, and I teach in San Bernardino, which is the 2nd poorest city in the United States. Detroit is the only city poorer than us, and as we're talking about what causes children to drop out, California has a 23% poverty rate among children. That matches up very nicely with our dropout rate. The lady back here talking about preschool, we get children who have never held a book before. When I started, there used to be TV guides in their house. Now there's not even that. I go into homes where there's not one book. I go into homes where children have never held a crayon, never held a pencil, and the expectation that the appropriate choice now is to evaluate teachers. Let's pour money into evaluating teachers. Let's pour money into supporting the poorest of our children. Those are our dropouts.
Thank you. Right in the center there.
My name is Rhonda Brown, and I teach in LA Unified. I'm an art educator. And what I want to speak about is how current data and research shows that a child who's been exposed to arts has a better chance not only at higher education, they also lessen the dropout rate. They also become better social individuals. Knowing this, there's, a plethora of information. Knowing this, Los Angeles Unified has cut 85% of their arts education funding. So if you have research that shows students who participate in arts education will actually stay in school, be motivated to stay in school, why such the cut in art? And it's not just happening in LA, it's happening all across the country. So that's really one of the things I'd like to bring to the forefront.
Okay. You know, so many of you have, in the survey that several of you took and filled out, are describing situations where you're not, and I put this lightly, just a teacher. Some of you are their social worker, some of you are their surrogate parents. Give me a couple of examples for people who are watching this that don't know what you're having to deal with on a daily basis. Ma'am, right here.
My name is Terry Anderson, and I'm an alternative ed teacher in Orange County. And I'm a one-room school. And so I have 19 students who come to me every morning and hope that I give them motivation, something to take home that they can grasp onto. Yesterday I asked them what their hopes and dreams were, and most of them said, I don't know. I have none. So my job is to instill that, to give them hope, to hand out a Band-Aid, to call their parents every day and say, why aren't they at school? To drop by their house to say, why aren't you in school? I'm going to come and find you. That's what I do.
I'm having flashbacks. Hold on. It's like, that's a teacher. She just said, I'm going to come find you. Hold on. Yes, ma'am, right in the center.
Hi, my name is Priscilla Avila. I work for Lenox School District, and right now I'm working with preschool. And I'm here also a part of LA Up. This subject for me really touches my heart. I'm standing with you guys right now, and I can honestly say that it affects me dearly because I was a high school dropout, and I can absolutely agree with you in the back that education was never something that I stopped thinking about. I had to put it on pause because of life circumstances that were thrown at me at a young age. And I think that as adults and as educators, and what I think the media needs to focus on is that when kids come to the classroom, they're not just thinking about their grades, they're thinking about other problems that they're facing and that they have to overcome.
What are some of the challenges you might have faced, if it's not too personal?
From my personal experience, I dropped out of high school in the 10th grade. And one of the reasons why was because I was no longer living at home, and I was living with my sister. And things were very tough. We were homeless for a while. We had nowhere to go. And it was never that I wanted to stop going to school. It was more that I felt the responsibility that I needed to also contribute and help in order to better our home situation.
Well, thank you for sticking with it. So I want to go ahead and ask another mobile poll question. I know it's an audience and we tell you to turn your cell phones off, but for this, you can turn them on. Please do, in fact. The question is, how much did you spend on additional resources? Okay. So, all right, take it easy. So, I didn't realize it was going to be such a fast. Okay, so how much did you spend on additional resources for your classroom this school year? A, more than $100, B, more than $250, and C, more than $500 in your classroom this year. And while we tally those up, let's talk about that. There was enough guffawing here and Chuckles McCoy. Who wants to, yes, what did you spend it on?
Well, okay, so hi, my name's Christine Snyder. I teach at Alliance College Ready High School, a charter school, wonderful charter in LA. I feel that part of my mission, in a sense my vocation, is to give of myself for the school. And I have to say, I do think that paradigm is part of why teachers end up feeling exploited. What Ms. Gates talked about, compensation. I'm glad to do it, and I see these children as an extension of my family. But I think at a certain point, as a teacher, we are asked sort of to be martyrs sometimes. So yes, lots of money, sir, lots of money.
Okay, lots of money. All right, so we have the answer, and it will be, oh my gosh. 73% of the teachers in this room, I realize it's a non-scientific poll, et cetera, disclaimer, but 73% of the teachers that are in this room tonight said that they spend more than $500 in their classrooms. I really think that that's kind of an eye-opener for people who are not in the education system, parents. I think maybe they magically think that the crayons show up or it's paid for, right? Sir?
One of the things I've come to realize in the last 2 years with all the furloughs and every cutback that we have is that the class time has been reduced to a ridiculous amount. Yet, we're still expected to compete on the same level with other states that don't have as many cutbacks. For example, I had 7 furlough days this year, all coming before Memorial Day. So that means I lost 7 class days, 7 opportunities to meet with my AP kids to get them ready for this really challenging class and really challenging test. I fear that they're not going to have that advantage or any kind of competitiveness to be able to do well in this test because we lost that time.
Okay. Right here, yep.
Hi, my name is Tina Solorzano, and I work in alternative ed. And one of the things that we have been affected is any type of interventionist. So you asked what other things we do as a teacher. Well, in my job, I have kids who are coming to me with pregnancy issues, homelessness, they don't eat. We had Casey testing today. None of my students had eaten breakfast, so I provided them with breakfast, just granola bars and juices, so they could have a structure to take their test. Parents who are getting deported, the students don't know where they're going to live. They don't know how they're going to get to school, anything like that, but they're trying to get there. Just while I've been sitting here, I've been getting texts from my students who are trying to do their online learning. Can you help me with that? I mean, there's so much more going on in the classroom than anything that I teach. And we have no interventionists, we have nothing. We have none of that available to us.
What other ways are these cutbacks and layoffs making a difference? Right there in the middle, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Janelle Ayala. I teach elementary school in Hacienda Heights, La Puente. One of the major things is intervention. I'm in first grade right now. I've taught first and third, and as you guys know, these are the foundational grades. I mean, this is where we're teaching them to read. We have no intervention. You know, when we do get intervention, it's towards the end of the year, last 6 weeks. Sometimes we're told we're not having summer school. You guys have to do it yourself. So as teachers, we're trying to figure out, on top of what else we have to teach, how to fit intervention in and make that work.
Okay. You know, quite a few of you in the surveys, and then I think I'm picking up a little bit from the thread here. I got a quote that says, "When I first started teaching, I taught. Now all I do is prepare them for tests." Are we over-testing? What's the solution here? Sir in the tie jacket.
My name is Stephen Lance. I'm an Alliance chemistry teacher in East Los Angeles. And I feel like, because the CSTs are actually tomorrow for my students, and the goal is not to teach them inquiry in my science classroom. There's this fact you must memorize. It's a fact that is in isolation of everything else. Don't worry about why it's relevant. It doesn't matter. Just learn this fact. Like, that is what these tests test. They don't test whether they're thinkers. They test whether they can memorize something. And so we need to critically think about why we're testing them and if we're testing the right sort of thing. Like, I support testing for teacher accountability. But are we testing whether they can memorize things, or are we testing whether they're actually thinkers? Because that's going to be the key thing to get us, like, people that are successful in the long run.
Okay. Yes, ma'am in the red.
Maybe this is something especially for Mrs. Gates, for the foundation being so generous as you guys are. But I think, you know, if you listen to all this, it's about, once again, the testing, back to that. Why are we testing the way we are? And why do we all feel that our professions and any of our qualities that we bring to it kind of get sidelines? Some of you mentioned that, you know, you won awards. We have teachers that have won awards here, and it seems undervalued. Who are making these tests? I think some of us think we have an idea, but maybe with technology, maybe we really need to hone in on that and say, let's bring the information to us. Let's own this. Let's be the democracy that we are. Let's bring the facts. Who's making these tests? Why? What are the results? Testing, testing, testing. It has its place,
right,
but it's become the ending factor as to what. So what leads up to it? And I think a lot of us feel, at least I know at our school, we feel frustrated. We try to talk about it, and we feel very ignorant as educators. We're going, you know what? I don't know.
Right.
And it's baffling. So I think, you know, that's something that we could work on is let's get educated ourselves, and if someone would lead the way.
Sure.
So let's check these tests out. What's going on?
Sir, I haven't heard from you yet.
My name is Stephen Kent. I teach at an LAUSD high school. One of the things I see is this one-size-fits-all education, and that all of our kids are going to college. They're all going to a four-year university. They all must pass Algebra 2 with a C, and if they can't pass Algebra 2 with a C, then they're worthless. Somewhere, somebody who, up in the high echelons of education that I'm not connected to or nobody I know knows, decided that math was the end-all of everything. That if you want to be in a university, you have to have calculus in high school. And I know so many people in my adult life who really are horrible at math, and they're very successful. And I see all these artistic kids. We have a generation of kids who love art, who are very talented with art. And math is not their thing.
All right, no math for you. No problem. We can do that. Okay, so in the survey that you guys answered before here, 46% of you said grades on standardized tests were not an accurate measure of teacher performance. But 94% of you said student engagement was somewhat or very accurate. So my question is, how do we measure that? How do we craft a policy around that? How do we help school districts measure that? Your arm went up faster than anyone else's.
This is something I've been thinking about for a long time because I've said I teach high school and my students read at a very low level. But for each and every one of those children, I can show you how they've improved over time and how my teaching and the subjects and the skills are targeted to their individual needs because I keep track. I have a rubric that I put on a spreadsheet, and I'm trying like crazy to figure out what each individual child needs and then tailor it, whatever I do in the classroom, in those directions for my children in those seats at that time. And the character of the class changes. They're going to change from first period to third period, from Monday to Wednesday. So I appreciate the CST. I'm willing to give a kid a grade bump for a class if he got a proficient or advanced, a California Standards test. It's not my ego, right? It's that the child can pass the test, and the test is at grade level. So my judgment shouldn't come into it. But where my judgment matters is for those kids that I'm really trying hard, working hard to help. And what I would love to have is help in developing a software tool or some kind of data tracking system that would make it easier for me and visible to everybody.
Okay, transparent data. Someone over here had a hand up?
My name is Sharon King, and I teach in Anaheim. And we are a Title I school with a lot of free and reduced lunches at our school. And you were asking about student engagement. And what I have seen is that it is not about what makes an effective teacher. It's about what makes an effective school. And I work in, we wrote a grant, and we have a performing arts academy. And 50% of our kids, it's a California Partnership Academy, they must be at risk. So we have a team of teachers that surround and support our students. And we come together and we meet and we talk about the work that's going on in the class. We have project-based learning that goes between the history and English teacher, and the students are completely engaged because we center it around art, something that they're interested in. We have collaborative projects that they work on. Our team is collaborative, and recently we brought in kids that were at risk as a team of teachers for support. How can we help you? You had asked about problems that were facing kids. These kids told us about what was going on in their home. We don't teach subjects, we teach people.
I learned how to add 5 and 3/8 and 1 and 2/8 because I took a home economics class. I was able to understand why glue and the physics of glue and wood and porousness because I took a woodworking class. I could understand perfectly the meaning of cacophony because I took a music appreciation class. Unless we align our curriculum for whole child development, where we are considering maybe that kid that has the great engineering mind wants to work in LA City's engineering department in the waste, making sure that all our stuff goes out to the ocean the way that it's supposed to, and doesn't want to be something else. That's what they're doing. You can't look at a third grader and tell me you know what he's going to look like at 25. So as far as testing, I don't have a problem with testing. I'm one of those New York State Regents students. California used to have Regents also, and everybody sat in the gym and you took it, and either you did it or you didn't. But that wasn't what you were learning. Testing was just one of the steps. but when you opened the test booklet and you saw the word extemporaneous that you had learned in your speech class, then you knew you had learned.
Okay. So one of the things that you, several of you were writing in about was financial literacy, and so we have a mobile poll question about that. Are you building financial literacy into your curriculum? Simple yes or no. And after you answer it in the mobile poll, we actually have a piece of video that we can watch in the meantime as we wait for the results.
Young people throughout Southern California are finding support from not-for-profit community organizations offering 21st century learning opportunities that will ultimately help them achieve their academic goals and revolutionize the career exploration process for them. Educators believe learning experiences outside the classroom help students establish strong foundations upon which they can build productive and successful lives.
We engage our students by bringing meaning and relevance to their experience in high school, bringing the community into the school and creating a bridge between the school and the community. What our students experience is nothing short of transformation. Transformation in identities, who they see themselves as being and who they can become.
Student engagement is the name of the game at Junior Achievement's Finance Park in Burbank, which offers financial literacy resources to 7th to 12th grade students. Here, young people experience all facets of personal finance in a real-life setting of businesses, organizations, and financial institutions. Situational learning opportunities that teach youth everything from financial literacy and math skills to critical thinking and decision-making.
Junior Achievement is creating relevance and pertinence to the curriculum so that a child understands why they are learning how to add and subtract and understand interest rates and compound interest rates and how to write a sentence so that they can eventually write a resume for themselves.
Junior Achievement is the closest to real life we can get the students to. And it is so empowering and meaningful for them because they see, oh my gosh, I need to plan. My decisions now in high school at 15 years old will and do impact my entire life.
There are countless other organizations across the greater Southern California area that are reaching out to our youth, helping them become more engaged in the learning process, helping them graduate better prepared to thrive in today's global economy.
It's really important for everybody to achieve their goals and, follow your dreams, because when you're older, you want to have that pride in you that you finished and, look at me, I'm a star.
So we do have the results of your poll. Are you sure you voted? Because you could tip the balance. This could be a presidential election. All right, so it's about 50-50. I just want to hear why or maybe why not. Yes, ma'am, right here.
Well, I've taught economics, so obviously we build in financial literacy, but you can teach economics in a very sort of academic way with graphs and formulas, or you can teach it in a very practical way. So I chose, when I found out what my students' needs were, that it's much more useful to focus on some budgeting as well as some of the macroeconomic issues. And I think a bigger point here is that we as teachers have to look at our kids as individuals because we know them. So you can look at the statistics for dropouts of 20% are not graduating. But we look in our classroom, and when I started teaching economics, that's a senior level class, and I had no idea till halfway through the year that a lot of them only had 10th grade or 9th grade level credits. Many still had 11th grade credits, which means they weren't on track to graduate. And when you talk to the students, what you find out as you build relationships, one of them was abused as a 9th grader. She started drinking and she stopped going to school. Another student went to a different high school. He was bullied, and so he hid from school. Another student's father died when he was in 10th grade. And so these kinds of obstacles are bigger than academic issues. So I agree with the people talking about how important that third grade is for reading, that it's obviously important to have the academic skills, but there's a bigger issue of sort of the wraparound services. And so some people have gotten at the importance of the community, but the funding is not there for things, simple things that get kids to school. The woman over there who's mentioning that nobody noticed when she dropped out, that's unbelievable and really something that makes teachers so sad.
Mm-hmm.
There should be attendance counselors, there should be mental health counselors, social workers. We have those in some schools, but the funding is being cut. And so all of those kind of services, as well as volunteers coming in from outside, if every American showed up in a school once a week, it would make a huge difference. Obviously, teachers agree. But so I think the idea that even though from a national standpoint, it's a statistic, from a classroom standpoint, it's a kid-by-kid issue, and they all have different things going on in their lives, and they need people who know about those things in their lives to make a difference.
Okay, thank you. Right here. I'm gonna try to spread the love around, so if you haven't commented yet, you got a better chance. I'm just telling you what the odds are.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity. My name is Kathy Van Dusen, and I work at Middle College High School in Santa Ana, and we're actually on the Santa Ana College campus. And I just want to say the importance of bringing in partnerships.
Mm-hmm.
I use Junior Achievement in my economics class, and it's very effective. I do the concepts, and Junior Achievement, the people, they come in and they do the games and simulations with the students, so it's really engaging for them. And also we have Avid, another partnership at our school, and my colleague's going to talk a little bit about Avid.
Okay, she is then.
I guess so. Well, thank you. Well, thank you for the opportunity. I'm Valina Espinosa, and I'm the high school counselor there on campus. And I think actually the big partnership is that really our partnership, our district and our community college district, was a huge partnership just forming our school. So that's number one. Those two institutions came together. Our students are doing high school and college at the same time. So it's a real boost for them. Our dropout rate is 0. We have 100% graduation rate. We're very excited about that. And so it's a small learning community. And we have a lot of people from the community that actually come in and volunteer their time. We have a group called Youth Motivation Task Force. They come in, motivate the kids, engineers. I mean, it's just such a vital key to have those.
So that's a great topic. So what are partnerships that are working? Can you tell us, as say, for example, as parents or somebody watching, ma'am, right with the brace? I mean, I hate to call you out, but
I wanted to say, we've heard so many things between testing and different issues and why maybe students aren't successful or what we can do. And I think one of the most important things that most teachers do, and all of us need to remember, is for some of our kids, we are the very best 6 hours in the whole day that they are going to have. And we were just talking a while ago about some of the circumstances. I was lucky. I grew up in a fairly normal home, and my parents loved me. But we were talking just a while ago. I had a little boy several years ago who his day, and I teach first grade, his day started with his dad attempting to strangle his mother, who left her for dead on the kitchen floor. Grandma called the police. So this little boy at 6 years old watched his mom. In his heart, he thought she had been murdered, watched the police come, cuff Dad, and arrest him. Grandma wanted to go to the hospital in the ambulance, so she didn't know what to do with him. She sent him to school. This is how this child started his day. We've had children that are homeless, children that are abused, and even for grades and testing and getting them to graduate, I think probably one of the most important things is just knowing that we really love them, that we care that they're going to make it in school.
Okay, right up here in the front.
Hi, so my name is Michelle Soto. I teach elementary at Milagro. I think hearing a lot of discourses that are happening right here, one thing that I think about is that my students, I have a lot of students who have roadblocks. They deal with situations, economic situations, personal situations, social situations, that no matter what's thrown at them, they try their hardest to survive. With this, I also noticed that it's more of a systemic issue. I noticed that the resources aren't there. I hear a lot of people saying there's not enough resources in the school, but also as a system, as a community. I was hearing that it takes a community to raise a child. So rather than the teacher being the only one, partnerships, a great one would be families, parents, bringing them in. How are we creating partnerships with our community to uplift the community? Put accountability on our government, on bureaucracy, on the system in that way, saying these are our social issues. As a community, this is what we need, and who is really having our interests as a community at heart? So yes, there is the education, there is the classroom, but then there's this greater problem. And then how, as a community, as a government, as a democracy, are we fighting this problem?
So as we saw in that video, there were probably a dozen or 2 dozen names of institutions, communities, partnerships that went by. As we try to build that community that she's talking about, who comes in? Are there small businesses? Is it the YMCA? Who is helping you?
Hello, my name's Lindsay Corcoran. I'm actually the magnet coordinator at my school. I'm also a teacher on Saturdays and after school for the kids who haven't passed the KC. But
the KC is what?
It is the California High School Exit Exam.
Thank you.
The exam, that's required for them to graduate. But in terms of partnerships, I think one of the most vital partnerships, especially in high school, is exposure to career fields. The California career pathways that are already set in place for California, so long as they're executed at the school level, is so important to our kids. For example, in our Law Magnet program, we have students who are going to Loyola Law School and taking a class. We have students who go to USC Law School. In our Police Academy program, we have a partnership with LAPD. In our Math Science Magnet, we have engineering partnerships. Our kids are building robots. You know, they're doing things that are absolutely amazing. And I think those are the things that aren't shown, that we need to explore and exploit ourselves by showing the nation that these things are happening at our schools.
Okay. Right here, sir, in the yellow shirt.
Hi, I'm Walter Nixon, 6th, 7th, and 8th grade teacher at Sierra Prep down in Santa Ana. I wanted to speak to the pathways, the California Career Pathways. We actually have a partnership with the Workability Program, which is a California grant designed to start at the community college level and work its way down. That funding was in place for years, and we did everything from the financial literacy to job skills and the career pathways. But I believe that these programs aren't necessarily well publicized, I guess. We don't necessarily know about them like they're there. Like I said, I've been teaching in the Workability Program at the specific site since I've been there. I've been there 11 years, but it isn't a vast avenue for all kids to go down.
Sure.
I've had general ed students stop by and say, "Hey, Mr. Nixon, can I be in your class?" And it's usually the other way around, but they want that skill set. They want to learn financial literacy, if we're talking about supermarket words or retail words, but it's not in the curriculum. So we do have a breakdown. It's really the right hand and the left hand just not meeting in the middle. I mean, we are a big family. We are that community. But if we're going to teach love and so on and so forth, the right and the left have to be talking. I mean, we can't hold government in contempt, and they can't hold us in contempt, because that undermines that community that we're talking about. And when the pain hits, then we can't absorb any of it. We start to point fingers, and here we are trying to solve the problem some years later.
Something several of you have kind of addressed in different ways about one-size-fits-all education, or what happens to these kids after, are they all going to college? We have a mobile poll question for you, so get your cell phones out. The question is going to be, what percentage of your students do you feel are ready for the workforce? A, B, C, D. Under 25%. I mean, obviously, if you're a 4th grader, come on. But under 25%, 25 to 50%, 50 to 75%, or over 75%. What percentage of your students do you feel are ready for the workforce? And I think we have a... Oh, my goodness. Okay. It's... Wow, this is like Merriam-Webster's time. No, I mean, I think if you are able to go and hold a job, whether you can define that job as broadly as you want it, McDonald's to computer engineering, whatever you define as someone that has the capacity not just to perform that single task, but can contribute to our economy. All right, so in the meantime, watch this.
Organizations from throughout Southern California recently gathered for the first annual Vital Link STEM, Science, Technology, Engineering and Math, and Digital Media Arts Showcase and Competitions. A collaboration of corporate, educational, and nonprofit worlds, exhibitors came together to offer educational activities and support services to Southern California youth.
What we have here today are many interactive exhibits where students can have a hands-on experience to discover their passion for a career for the future.
Professionals from the community shared information and insights that introduced the young people at the event to new career paths and possibilities.
We hope to provide a lot of hands-on activities and exposure to students to make sure that they're aware of everything they can do within the realm of engineering and science.
West Coast University is committed to make sure that we offer careers that are needed in the community. We want to encourage high school students to consider a career in healthcare.
Exhibitors agreed that educational experiences outside the classroom enhance the learning experience for students, motivating them to not only graduate from high school, but to aspire to higher education.
This is a fascinating opportunity for kids to see and experience and touch and feel so many different vocations that hopefully it will inspire them to get their way through school and then to go on to a higher education or to a career that's really meaningful for them.
Well, it's important to keep kids engaged for lots of reasons. At the top level, it's important for this country to start generating more technically literate and technically engaged individuals.
Teachers in attendance were also unanimous in their endorsement of the life-enhancing value of the experience for young people.
We push hard the four-year experience, the four-year university experience, but many of them lack a frame of reference for jobs. That this is a broad-based experience for the kids that have exposure to a number of viable, necessary technical careers.
The more technology we put in their hands, the better they're going to be for the job world.
I think it's important that communities, businesses, parents, students, everybody in the community get together and can kind of help shape tomorrow's future. And students otherwise wouldn't have an opportunity like this to come and see different businesses. So to see this and to see the kids interact and engage, it's really exciting, and to see their faces light up, it's priceless.
Students attending the showcase event were able to explore, discover, and connect to academic, career, and workforce training options. An introduction to real-world career possibilities never before imagined.
I'd say that there are definitely things that you can learn here that you can't learn in a classroom. CPR dummies, that's something that you don't see in a classroom.
The people from different companies showing you all the different paths you can take with engineering, just kind of reasserting that idea that I had, that engineering as a major can open so many doors for you.
The Vital Link STEM and DMA Showcase, introducing career exploration possibilities to Southern California youth. Opportunities that will not only raise high school graduation rates, but will chart their course to becoming successful and productive adults.
Okay, I think we have from your mobile poll as well. What percentage of your students do you feel are ready for the workforce? 38% of you, more than a third of you, said under 25. And I'm fascinated by this number. Only 11% of you said most of your kids, or let's say 41% said most of your kids are ready. That's news to me. Why shouldn't it be news to me? Yes, ma'am, right there.
Hi, I'm Sandy Hightower. I teach at Century High School in Santa Ana, and we are a comprehensive high school, which means we take all the kids from the community. We don't cherry pick the cream from the crop. And we are just starting to be a STEM school, which I hope will be a big improvement for our students because, again, 97% socioeconomically disadvantaged. So, and with the Latino college graduation rate at about 7% in the nation, it really, not all of our kids are going to graduate from college. So when they're worried about putting food on the table and they're having babies just to add to their family income, which is a big problem at my school, we should be also looking at giving job skills along with college prep skills. So because those STEM classes that we're starting to offer, they'll build skills for my brilliant Latina girl who will be an engineer and who will probably get a full ride. But it will also build skills for the kids that aren't, that are just barely going to graduate and just need to go out and get a job, because there's lots of, I went to a STEM workshop this past weekend, and there was 9,000 unfilled manufacturing jobs in Orange County. But we have kids that are on welfare. So why can't we bring that together? Why can't we give them the skills in high school that will build them to be better engineers, but will also build them to get a job if they want to go an alternative path and go work for a few years, then go back to a JC, then build their college careers. So that's what I'm hoping more of our high schools will do. We'll see both pathways as acceptable, and it's not just, college is great, and it was for me, and it was for a lot of people, but we have to face the reality that some of our kids really just need a job and to provide, food and a place to live for their families.
Yes, sir.
One of the things us as teachers in the education community, we tend to think that the world is organized around education. It is not. We live in a market-driven society, and it is a job market. And in a global market, companies go where labor is cheapest and most readily available. And so that is one of the challenges that we have. We just because Johnny does graduate and gets a 4.0 doesn't necessarily guarantee that they're going to get a spot in the job market. And so that is one of the challenges that I think are out there. And last point I'll make is that we in the education system, we're still not clear what exactly are the skills needed for a 21st economy, because things are changing so rapidly, particularly with respect to the digital workforce.
Just a quick show of hands. Do you think that just this point that he's making is, do you think that the education system or how it's structured today is preparing enough students for the economy as we know it? Yes, for raise your hand. Okay, you are an optimist. No? Wow. I learn something each time I come to these events because I don't have the frontline experience that you have. Sir, go ahead.
My name is Warren Dale, and I've been with Los Angeles Unified for 31 years. And I have had the amazing opportunity for the last several years to help teachers learn how to use technology in the classroom. When I hear this teacher sitting here communicating with her kids at this hour, helping them with their homework, this is the wave of the future. We talked about a revolution happening and that we need a revolution. It's happening around us. We talked about a market-driven economy. Is the public willing to pay for the product that we are delivering now?
Okay.
Are they willing to? I have a couple more things. You see, what I'm seeing happen. What I'm seeing happening is that our kids come equipped already with devices in their pockets. We've been doing it here this evening, but we make them put it away when they show up on campus. We have not leveraged what these kids come to school with. We have online through the ck12.org, we have all the math and the science and a whole bunch of other textbooks for free. We have the Khan Academy, where we have all kinds of subjects available for free. Now the question comes in, and we've heard about the problems of kids and the problems they have at home and having to work. Now what happens is that we have to, I believe, in education, change our vision of what a good education is. We have to be able to compete. Our students have to be able to compete with the reality of today's world. That's where I see the magic happening in today's world. And I'm seeing it happening where teachers are saying, I don't want to retire. I'm having too much fun. Look at the change in my kids. My kids are engaged in my class. They don't want to go home. And it all happens with the revolution we're seeing with technology, and what are we doing to embrace that? And that's what I'm seeing happen. And it's so exciting because as a teacher, I want to help my kids move forward into the future.
Okay, thank you very much. So we've about run out of time, but let's just go ahead and have a few bullet points here to try to summarize what was said. and I know it's a little too small to read, but let me read it out for you. Reading is essential at an early age. Intervention at an early age is vital. These are things that you've said in this conversation, so correct me if I'm wrong. Preschool sets the stage for good learning attitudes. Accountability for teachers, but also for parents and communities. Connection and relationships with teachers, important for students. After-hours support needed to help at-risk kids. Art and music important for learning and offering alternatives. Attendance counselors, volunteers needed in schools. Exposure to careers, business paths, help motivation. Is that about right-ish? If I've forgotten something, you can email me after. But we just want to say, first of all, thanks to, again, the Grammy Museum, of course, the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, and the Gates Foundation that helped make this all possible. And I personally just want to say thank you for being teachers. I had great teachers, and I'm so fortunate, whether some of them were in India, some of them were in the United States, and they, took a couple extra seconds to help this kid with his accent or a few words, and it worked out all right. So, but thank you very much for your time, and we'll continue the conversation a little bit after.
American Graduate Teacher Town Halls are funded by the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation and are part of American Graduate Let's Make It Happen, a public media initiative made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting.